This is Gabby
This is
Reese.
Derek Jones.
This is Greg Priest.
This is Jeff Campitelli.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Natalie Dunn.
This is Mick
This
Gillette.
is Slim Jim Phantom.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Rick Marotta.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Derek Rolando with the Latin Pop Revue, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
Derek Rolando is a timbalero, a band leader, and he and his Latin Pop Revue are playing at the Empress Theater on December 23rd. So we want to promote his show, but we're really just hanging with Derek. Derek, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're at Back 40 Texas Barbecue, and we're about to get some barbecue. So, man, you're preparing for the show. You got an all-star lineup, huh?
Yes, I hand-selected everybody. It kind of was a no-brainer because all the individuals that I'm using in the band they play in different bands with me.
Sure.
And they're all great musicians. And I really decided to, when I put the band together, to have team players, people that were very professional in the way they carried themselves and would be into this project. So
birds of a feather.
Exactly. And what better way of using musicians that are already in the mix?
Already, yeah, in the mix, local, just part of the scene, part of the flavor.
Right.
Who you got in the band?
Well, I'm going to start with Ray Obiedo, the great Ray Obiedo on guitar.
On.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a little story. I thought of this idea, and a lot of it happened because of there was a Channel 9 documentary on Latin music. It's called Latin Music USA, and it was narrated by Jimmy Smits. And it was several years ago, but it was outstanding. It really touched me. The documentary embraced Latin music in the USA from the beginning.
Okay.
And immigrants from all Latin American countries, the Caribbean.
That brought all kinds of different flavors of music.
Correct. And a lot of people don't think about it. They're just like, well, Gloria Estefan, and then you have Carlos, and then they put it together all in one show, and it just, I had chills. I mean, it just was right up my alley.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they did such a great job. If you haven't checked it out, please do. PBS, I loved it. And I thought of that concept. And
well, let's describe the concept first of all.
Okay, the concept is, why have just a tribute band and honor one artist when you could bring all of these great artists together in one show?
Sure.
That has not been done before.
Well, and here's what's great about that is for the casual listener, not the Latin music aficionado, but just the casual listener, yeah, you're going to love one or two tunes from a variety of artists and really not even really put together that you dig the genre as a whole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, there's always going to be that person, oh, yeah, when that song comes on by Mark Anthony, or when that song comes on by the Miami Sound Machine, or when that song comes on by Sheila E. Everybody's like, of course, yeah, I hit the dance floor. That's my tune. That's my jam. I get my hips going. My lady always likes it. Mm-hmm. What you're doing is grabbing from a variety of influences and a variety of artists who people have loved and enjoyed, and pulling it all together.
Right.
It's really a greatest hits band, but it's a greatest hits band of Latin music.
Yes. Yes, that's what it is. I was with a tribute band before, and the experience of checking out the different venues was really good for me, and the wheels started turning.
Yeah.
And I thought, what could I do? What could I bring to the table that's kind of fresh, but yet people are familiar with? Because the music, we could do these songs our own way and put a little twist on them, and with great musicians. Because I got really tired, basically, of seeing really good musicians having a hard time finding work.
Sure.
And I thought, we could do this together and have fun and put a lot of creativity into the song.
You started at Ray Obiedo. For our listeners who don't know, go look up Ray Obiedo. What you're going to find is a Latin music legend.
Right.
A guitarist who has played with, in his career, he's played with so many greats, and everybody has such a tremendous amount of respect for Ray and his playing, and he's such a giver musically. He's nurtured people's careers, and on stage, he nurtures everybody else. So he's one of these guys, and I'm going to lump you in because this is the nature of the kind of cats we've had on our show are the guys who say, my job is just make the rest of the band sound better. And when you've got a whole band full of guys who are considerate enough to make the rest of the band sound better, that's a badass band.
Yeah, I definitely love his concept because he's a Bay Arean, and he's one of the funkiest guitar players I've ever heard in my life. And the people he's played with is just incredible because every time we sit down and we talk or we're at his studio, I'll bring up some artist and goes, yeah, I did some stuff with them back. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go again.
No matter who you bring up.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there was, I guess, the Midnight Special. It was either
Bert Sugar's Midnight Special.
Yeah, it was either that or Don Kirshner's rock concert, one of the two.
Right.
And there's Ray with Herbie Hancock with Journey on the same stage at the end. They just used to blow it out.
Yeah.
And there's Ray next to Neil Schon, and then there's Herbie, and then Greg Raleigh. It's like crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's something and this is for our listeners because I know you know this, but Neil Schon, since we're talking about Latin music and the impact of Latin music on popular culture, Neil Schon, when he was 16 years old, he played with Santana.
Right.
So his very start was really, he's got famous among so many people as being the guitarist in Journey and all the iconic songs that they wrote and recorded. But his start in the music business as a professional came at a very young age, plucked from obscurity by Carlos Santana.
Right.
So go ahead and ask Neil Schon, what he feels about the impact of Latin music on his soul and on his playing. And the list goes on and on. So there's Ray. You're talking about a show that aired in the mid-'70s. Bert Sugarman's Midnight Special. And so many terrific performances by the greatest.
Right.
And he's up there with Herbie Hancock and Journey.
Right.
I didn't know those acts graced the same stage at any time. And, of course, they did, and there's Ray.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds you of the Bill Graham thing where he would have all these different acts that normally wouldn't even be put together on the same bill, but he would do it, and people loved it. Blues artist with some heavy rock band, whatever. It seemed to work.
Yeah. You know what's come up on our show several times is do you remember that show from the late 80s or early 90s called Night Music? It started off, the first season, it was called Sunday Night. And then the second season, it was called Night Music. And they went 1.5 more seasons as Night Music. But it was a music show that came on Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. And the band leader and host of the show was David Sanborn.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
And the house band was Omar Hakim, Hiram Bullock, Marcus Miller, and Jules Holland.
Right, yeah, Jules, yep, exactly right, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And then they'd bring on, like, B.B. King would come on as a guest, Boz Scaggs, Michael McDonald, Bootsy Collins, and I'm pulling out just guests, but they would always do the same thing. By the end of the show, like, everybody would pair up, and then they would just blow out and have a jam and be 19 people on the stage. Yeah. And you'd look over and be like, that is Bootsy Collins, and that is Michael McDonald, or something,
Right.
And so those collaborations, we need to see more and more of that. And I think, do you get a sense that it's coming back around, and that's why the Latin Pop Revue, is that what spurred you into action?
Absolutely. I think the potential for that is great because we're honoring so many different major pop artists in the Latin genre that I'm envisioning later on where we could have the guests themselves come up and play with us.
And why wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And people like Ray, who are so well connected in the industry, who's actually backed these major artists because he's played on the Alma and Latin Grammys as the house band with Sheila, and they backed a young Christina Aguilera. At the time he was telling me about it, she wasn't even known, and she got up there and tore it up, and then they go, okay.
10?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
We got it.
Yeah.
We got it, guys.
Yeah. We got it, you got it.
Yeah.
So who are some of the acts that you've mined from? What can we expect to hear?
Well, first I took all the major Latin pop artists first that have made an impact in U.S. culture.
Okay.
Not so much Latin American vocalists or bands that are known in their country, but
Right, but
more
American
so,
known
right.
bands.
Crossover artists, exactly.
Like
so,
Gloria Estefan.
Gloria Estefan, Carlos Santana, Shakira, Mark Anthony,
Okay.
Ricky Martin, Jennifer Lopez, Selena. Those are some of the
That's
ones.
a good list.
There's plenty.
Yeah, that's a good list.
Yeah.
Who else did you rope into this mission with you?
Okay, so let me start. We started with Ray, and then
And that took like 25 minutes.
well, this is yeah. We're going back to that. But anyway, I'm there, and I go, here goes nothing, and I call Ray and tell him, and I say, I got this idea, and I thought it's either going to be yay or nay.
Yeah.
And he said, great. He immediately got real excited about it,
Oh,
if
good.
I may say so.
Uh-huh.
And he said, yeah, we could do this in Vegas. And,
Right.
and I said, that's exactly what I want. That's where I want to be. I want to go to Vegas, and I want to do some major shows with this band and really elevate it as time goes on, because it takes time to get to that level. But I want to go back to the personnel. We have Ray, and then I thought of someone who, on bass, who was a little bit different, who was part of the Bay Area scene, but isn't as present right now, but his name is David Morgan, and he played bass with Santana through the 80s.
Wow.
He's phenomenal. He's a Berkeley resident. So I got David. He said yes. I haven't known him very long, but I kind of been talking to him, and
Yeah.
he dug it. So, and then I have two keyboard players. One does all the horns and strings and patches. And I chose to go that route because the band starts getting really big when you use a horn section.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And he has really good sounds. He's just phenomenal. His name is Greg Ron, and he's really known for doing a lot of video game soundtracks.
Oh, okay.
And he's did some of the biggest.
Yeah.
He's did Lord of the Rings. I've
Yeah.
recorded on some of them. I did Dr. Seuss, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and he's did several of the major soundtracks for these video games, like from movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he resides over in American Canyon. We're real good friends. We've known each other since the early 80s. And then I have Bob Crawford, plays with a lot of bands, that are, and he's constantly busy. So he's doing all the Latin, mainly all the Latin piano work,
parts,
while Greg
right.
does it. They kind of, complement each other.
Oh, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then I got a gentleman who has just been so incredible throughout the process of this project, and I could not have done it without him, and that's Phil Hawkins. And he is an incredible drummer. He plays with Pete Escovedo sometimes, and he teaches recording arts at Mission College.
Wow.
Over in the South Bay,
Yeah.
near Great America.
Right,
over there.
right.
The guy is so talented, and he plays drums, steel pans. He studied steel pans. He went to Trinidad.
Wow.
And he teaches recording arts, and then he did my video for the band and did the photography. I mean, so he went all the way, and I go, let's just keep going, guy. Anyway, he's not going to be on these performances because he's going to be going out of town. And so I got a couple of other individuals to fill in of the same caliber, of course.
Who'd you get to fill in?
A gentleman by the name of Colin Douglas.
Okay.
He lives in Martinez.
Uh-huh.
And he's a phenomenal drummer and percussionist as well. He plays all the Latin bands, and he's a great drummer, solid as a rock. And he's been playing with Ray also.
Well, you know how it is, man. You have to cultivate a menu of subs
You do.
because people get busy.
Yeah.
They do. They get busy.
You can't start from the point of, I really want to get these great musicians work, and then be like, no work over there. Like, you got to be able to say.
You can't.
Yeah, right.
You could, hopefully at some point I could demand
Well, yeah.
to where I've got so much going on that they have no choice.
When you have that Choice Vegas house gig.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it's like, so we have also the front line, which is we have three great vocalists.
Mm-hmm.
They really complement each other. Leah Ticey, who has been playing with Pete Escovedo over the last few years, has really gotten into the Latin thing. And
She's terrific. She's been on the show.
Oh, she has.
Yeah, a couple times.
Not only has she been on the show, I've hired her twice to sing because I'm like,
Okay,
I don't
well,
fuck around. So like you, I'm like, I take Leah Ticey.
You know exactly, and she's a team player, as Ray would say.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I talked to some, or I've had my eye on some other people, but Leah was right there and
Yeah.
such a team player.
Oh, she's amazing.
And she does her homework, very professional in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other individual who I just hired, who's going to be on the shows, his name is Carlos Xavier. And the great thing about him is that he's crossover. He could sing salsa, and he sings in a Michael Jackson tribute band called Foreverland.
Wow.
And so he does all the funk stuff and then can sing straight up in Spanish and salsa.
Man.
So he just came on board and nailed it. And then I have another great individual who does a lot of R&B and jazz. His name's Carol Toka, and he lives out in Sacramento.
So it sounds like really what you went for is not just dexterity and virtuosity on the instrument, but variety, versatility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Versatility, and also sometimes you have great players and they can't sing.
Yeah.
So I just hired singers.
Yeah.
And they do it.
Right.
And we just,
Are you saying Ray can't sing?
well, he could sing. He could sing. Ray could sing a little bit. I'm a little bit behind him in my singing. I'm not, but I
But that's what you do. You hire 3 great singers.
Yeah, I plan on getting there because I just have to do some singing. So, we'll work on that and see how it goes. But there's some other individuals, too, like a gentleman by the name of Johnny Valdez, who is 40 years old. It looks like he's about 23. He lives in Modesto, and he's very talented, plays guitar, sings, plays some keys. And he's a great guy. But he joins the band occasionally when he can, but he's pretty busy. And, I've talked to Pete Escovedo about joining us as a special guest. He's down with it, and so is Tony Lindsay.
Wow.
So I've got the lineup there.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
No
it's
How do you?
I'd
so
say.
you have this band that lives Sacramento, Modesto, Bay Area. How the hell do you guys ever get together to work stuff out?
well, that's a tough one because yesterday we rehearsed.
Yeah.
And
How did that go? We thought about crashing your rehearsal.
Yeah,
too.
we
Oh,
did.
that
We
would have
both
been
conquered.
great.
I wish we would have done it.
That would have been great. Next time you
All
have
right.
to crash it. We'll
Done.
plan on it. It's very hard
I bet.
because I'm dealing with 9 people and their schedules and everything. And we got to rehearsal yesterday, and
At 2:00 in the afternoon.
2:00 in the afternoon, and there was some sort of a mix-up with myself and the gentleman that owns the studio.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And he thought that we hadn't talked about the time change because we were going to do it at 7 o'clock at night. We did it too, and he wasn't there. So I'm calling him. He's not answering. A girl shows up that has a key, and she has one of the rooms there, and she recognized me from a gig we did. She goes, "Well, I think you're cool. Come on in." So we start setting up. The owner calls me and said, "I'm so sorry." He comes down, and we're in the studio getting set up already. So it was cool. It all worked out.
It worked out. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah. So
You didn't have to choke anybody because
No.
folks came from far and wide.
yeah, they came for it, and it's like, oh, I got to be at this gig and I got to do that. That's why I did it earlier. But we just got right on it, and on Thursday I got to.
Well, you got folks who do their homework.
They do their homework,
I mean, it's
yes.
all pros, and they come in and knock it out. And you make rehearsal time count because you're not sitting there learning the part. You're creating the arrangement. That's what rehearsal's for.
Right.
Practice when you're in the woodshed by yourself, that's for learning the part. You don't come to a rehearsal not knowing the part.
Right.
So when you have that caliber of player, you start off at a different place, and you get a lot more done.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you
that's
do.
cool, man.
Are you doing your own musical direction, or do you have someone else kind of stand outside and look in who's separate from that?
Yeah, I do. There's a couple of people like Ray who I really respect his expertise.
Oh, that's terrific.
One of the keyboard players is involved. I have 2 keyboard players, as I had mentioned, but one of them is very busy. So this other friend of mine, who's the other keyboard player, is kind of getting more involved in the role of doing charts for the band and playing more of an active role.
When you bring together an all-star
Right.
band like that, Check out our sponsor for this episode, WeFixYourScript.com. If you're a screenwriter, they'll help you tighten your characters and punch up your story, and their clients have won awards and sold options, so it really works. Right now, they'll give you a free consultation on your script. Just tell them you heard about them on the Break It Down show. That's WeFixYourScript.com.
We stopped, took a break to have some food, and so let's keep the conversation going. We were talking about J.R. Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
we talk about J.R. Robinson all the time because this dude's my hero.
Yeah.
Right.
So bring him up. And not only that, but, we've had plenty of drummers on the show who have said the same thing. It's like I bring a drummer on the show to showcase him, and he goes, yeah, JR's my hero, too.
Yeah.
We've
So,
also, we get this so much because, like we are kind of gathering a band in a lot of ways. And we apparently like the rhythm section because we've got drummers and bass players and percussionists like crazy, but we just haven't figured out
We can't get a piano player.
Yeah.
We have piano player. Well, Corey Jacobs is. He wrote our theme songs.
Yeah.
And
Dr. Bob.
So, and Dr. Bob, yeah.
But I mean,
so we've had a couple piano players.
We
got to get Ray on the show.
We do got to get Ray on the show.
Get him on there.
That'll be fun.
But
I'd like to get Peter Horvath, too. You know Peter Horvath?
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to do
Peter.
this all night.
David K. Matthews from Santana.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Used to be my roommate.
See? All right, we're going to put him on speed dial.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do. We get a lot of drummers. We get a lot of we had Nathan East on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality of bassists, is really high. And the people that we get, we're very fortunate to be able to do this. And there's so many common threads. Hearing you talk about how you approach things, the story you're trying to tell, you're not just putting pickers out there. Like no. I need these elements to provide some contrast, to provide some tension, and I mean, recognizing Leah Ticey. Heck, we recognized her too. We've had her on the show,
Yep.
So these,
she's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Actually, I hired her for my friend Pickles' wedding. And were you at Pickles' wedding?
Mr. and Mrs. Pickles? Of course I was.
Mr. and Mrs. Pickles. So his name's not really Pickles. That's his nickname.
Okay.
But we had Leah, and where she stood, she kind of ended up being kind of behind a pillar. And a couple of people said, I didn't realize that was an actual person. I thought that was Etta James, on a CD. And like, nope, that's a real person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you get when you get Leah Tyson. Like,
Right.
Oh, wait. Wow. And then it just takes that wow factor and it blows. It's not, you can't hire Etta James anymore, but you can hire Leah Ticey.
Sure.
She used to do that gig for the Warriors.
Yeah.
And play those Warriors games. And then and she was on that gig. I don't know who else was on. There was another female singer. Isn't that where we met Leah?
We met her at Dwayne's.
At Dwayne's. And she was in the band with Levi Caesar. And Juan was there. I hadn't seen Juan in many years, and I ran into Juan there.
Mm-hmm.
And John played drums for a minute with him.
Yeah.
He had to sit in because
you know what? I hadn't played in like 20 years. And when I came in the room, we were there to interview Dwayne Wiggins. And he said, yeah, you guys should hang out because Levi's coming, and they're going to do a rehearsal here. It wasn't even a band he was in. It was Levi's band. Mm-hmm. And he said, you guys should hang out. Have you met Levi? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll hang out to meet Levi. For sure. Can we crash a rehearsal? And he was like, yeah, man, sure. So that's where we met Leah. And in the midst of that rehearsal, Juan walks in. Mm-hmm. And I had played with him before, so I nudged him, Juan, what's up, man? You remember me? And we made the connection. He was like, yeah, man, what's going on? So that was like truly 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the drummer got caught in traffic and called in or whatever. And so Juan goes, he plays the drums. And I'm like, dude, I haven't had sticks in my hand in a long, long time. But, Juan was like, yo. And I said, okay. Because that's what you say, right?
Right.
I'm going to tell you a different version of this story. So John's up there talking for sure to the guys, and I'm standing there. And kind of like, oh, whatever. The drummer's late. He's in traffic. He's going to be a few minutes. And then Juan looks at John and says, he plays the traps. And John goes, well, it does, kind of like the appropriate thing. Mm-hmm. And they all spin and walk away. You got drum shanghaied.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess I'm doing this. It was awesome. And he did. He sat right in and took that 20 years of dust and knocked it off. And I think Levi gave you one direction on something that you couldn't have known.
Uh-huh.
Like he's like, you just don't hit the drum on two. And you're like, got that all day long. And
Yeah,
it was cool.
right. He just we're gonna do a breakdown right there. Okay,
Yep.
let's drop the snare out.
Nice.
I didn't do anything, man. I just played the groove, and 20 years of cobwebs all over the groove, but it was still a groove.
Great.
I wasn't about to take no solos, but
They weren't asking you to.
the pocket was still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Enough about me. It was nice because it kind of spurred. Like I went and set my drums back up.
Great.
I got busy raising kids. You know how it is, man. People get busy with life.
Sure.
But
Sure.
now that we're doing this, we try to take the opportunities to meet everybody. And the same thing that when I met you, it was at that sound check at Yoshi's.
Right.
And I was there to meet Pops. Also met Mark Van Wagenhagen that night. And Peter Mike. I want to talk about Peter Mike for a minute because we watched him be the MD that he is. And
Right.
he's an amazing A-list, in-demand musical director.
Right.
Aside from being a terrific player,
Sure.
his ability to act as a musical director will enhance any band. And
Yeah.
so that's why the best of the best of the best hire him. Who was he MD'd for? Lionel Richie, Elton
Right.
John. I mean, some enormous.
It goes on and on.
It goes on and on.
He's been with the who's who in L.A. And as a matter of fact, that night after the show, we were at the Fat Lady around the corner from Yoshi's.
Yeah.
And we started talking about how difficult it was to be a musical director on a TV show because the segues and
He's done more than one, by the way.
Yes.
So he did the Magic Hour,
Right. That's the first one.
Wayne Brady.
And he did the Martin Short Show.
Oh, the Martin Short Show. Wow.
Yeah.
Wayne Brady being the longest.
Yeah.
And that's when Mark VW was in the house band, and also Will Kennedy was on drums.
Yeah.
What
That's a
lineup.
band right there.
Yeah, those guys are so cool and just amazing musicians.
You think about that, though. You have 3 shows that are failed, or 2 shows that failed rather quickly. They just didn't work out.
Right.
But you keep getting gigs doing that gig. So Peter Mike's not the problem.
Right. No, he's
it's
definitely not the problem.
like we need to do this thing. And
In fact, when somebody else fires up another one, like, well, let's see. I mean, who doesn't have a ton of faith in Martin Short carrying a show?
Right,
And they
yeah.
go, well, we need somebody reliable.
right,
And you get Peter Mike.
Right.
Yeah.
And he comes in there, and, it was evident in what we witnessed that night because, man, he had the whole thing tuned up. And they did a run through. They ran through a tune. And he was able to tell the guy at the board, the back of the house, what he should be rolling off. And, by frequency.
yeah,
Let's get back to the Latin Pop Revue.
Sure.
When you have your roster of players and everybody's firing on all cylinders, are you more concentrated on your part, or are you MDing and seeing the show as a whole as you go? Because you're really, even if you let somebody else, I know you don't have a specific acting MD in the band, and everybody kind of, how I imagine it, this is just me inserting myself into the Latin Pop Revue. It's like, if you bring the tune, then you are sort of the de facto MD, right? So it's like, hey, everybody, let's
Right.
choose a tune. Okay, well, if we're going to do that tune, go ahead and run it. And the guy who's most in touch with that tune is going to be the guy who says, hey, let's crank it up right here. Let's drop out right here. Let's let the singers have some. And
Right.
then here's where we all come back in.
Exactly.
So because you're the visionary, do you find yourself being at that point, you're something besides the MD because you're seeing the whole show, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that it first starts before that when you're picking the players. Because certain individuals are going to bring their thing into the mix. And if you hand select those people ahead of time, you kind of know how they play. It's not just great musicianship, but it's entertainment as well.
Yeah, sure.
And so those are the types of things that I look forward to in the band.
So when you're building a set, here's the thing. I was a DJ for many years. So a lot of times it was like I had to depend not on musicianship, but I had to depend on the music that I had in my hands and really craft a set that would take a crowd places. And you're right, it's peaks and valleys, right? You have to take their emotion as far as this emotion will go. Like there are songs where it's going to work the crowd, and they're going to come out and they're going to enjoy themselves at a certain pace, like a Kenny Lattimore tune or a Maxwell tune, where it's like there's that slow groove, and you can go, yeah, this is nice. I'm enjoying this. And there's, like if you're starting slow, which isn't always the case. Like you said, if you're the headliner, typically the headliner will come out and kick the door down and give you some like, boom, I just punched you in the chest, and here, everybody, the good time has arrived. And then you can scale it back. And after you do that opening number, like you mentioned, maybe it's a 3-song medley or something, because you got to jog those emotions, and you hit somebody with a 3-song medley that's really up-tempo. Yeah. It's like, oh, man, here we go. Mm-hmm. And then, that might be a 6-minute affair.
Right.
And then you go, all right, let's take it back. And then you go with the slow to mid-tempo tune that's really groovy, really funky, really raucous, brings out, now that you kicked them in the chest and their emotions are pretty raw, then you ratchet it up just a little bit, and you take them on that slow journey where you climb that hill, and you're getting a little faster, and you're working with tempo, and you just get a little faster and a little faster. Because when you have a song that's, let's say you're working from, a ballad up to a song that's 120 beats per minute, you can't really get the most out of those transitions unless you build up. If you get up to 90 and you fall back to 70, that's a misstep. Right. You got to build up and build up and build up. And then when that emotion is nice and raw and everybody's kind of sweaty, now that I got you sweaty, I'm going to have you pull your girl real close. And you break it back down again.
Right.
So those types of things.
What song is that?
Allow the which
you got them sweaty. They're ready. It's time to bring him in close.
Here's great. So let's go back. Let's say I'm doing a 70s set, and I've just hit them with Disco Inferno, right, which is an 11-minute forceful, heavy disco song, 4 on the floor. They're good and sweaty. The way that song ends, it's a fast fade, and then you hit them with Let's Get It On, or Let's Stay Together, or You're Still a Young Man. Those songs that have that boom, distinctive intro where I've stepped on the brakes. I'm making a powerful transition here, and we're changing up the mood.
Right.
Go grab your lady.
Right.
Maybe that 11-minute tune was a bit much for you, and you're like, man, he just wore me out. I'm going to make my way back to my table. Oh, no.
John's got his hand on his back.
Can't go back to my table.
Right.
I can't go back to my table when Heat Wave is on. I got to go get my lady. Right. And if you've made your way back to the table, it's like, I got to get back up. Come on, baby.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the ability to craft a set like that, like you do, gives your singers the freedom to read the crowd and gives them the ability to say, hey, now that we're at the mid-tempo part, look how these guys are responding to this. Before we let them go, let's kick it up. Maybe we were going to kick it up a little. Let's kick it up even faster.
Right.
And understand that the pacing is the ride, and then take your crowd for a ride. And then there's the ability to interact. Like you said, we're not just interacting for the sake of, hey, Derek, give me a little more. It's for the sake of, hey, Derek, let's let these nice folks in on this party we're having.
Right.
It's a good feel, and it's an art form unto itself.
Same question to you, right? You've got the crowd going. You've played Disco Inferno or whatever song, and now you want to get not only the slow jam, but we've now created the atmosphere where nobody's self-conscious anymore. They are going to wrap their arm a couple extra inches around their girl and really draw them in close. What song is that?
Anything for You.
All right.
Which is absolutely beautiful ballad.
Yes, with a beautiful message. With the
message.
You get that.
That's what we love.
And the video is amazing. She doesn't have Emilio on the video, but
right. So we can all imagine.
Yeah. So it's a young Gloria Estefan, and she's got this model type looking kind of a rugged dude in there thinking about each other. They shows them separate, and they miss each other, and they think it's maybe kind of over. And at the very end of the video, she's sitting there just like we are. She's sitting at a booth, kind of thinking. she looks up and he shows up at the restaurant and he sees her and their eyes meet. And it's like, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Very well done.
There's resolution.
There's resolution.
You put that ballad in the middle, though, right? So there's
Right.
and it's like starting the set all over again and hitting the reset button. And now, boom, we hit the valley. We're gonna live down here in this murky water for a little while and let you guys get close and slow.
Right.
And then we're gonna build back up. And then you go from the really deep ballad, the soulful ballad, look in your eyes ballad, and then maybe you go to like something just slightly like Suavecito.
Right.
And then you go, a little more like, and then Black Magic Woman. And now you have the hips are moving a little bit. And then it's the build-up,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different tempos. And you have the medium tempo tunes like I Need to Know by Mark Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
a really cool.
But it's medium tempo, but it's got a different feel from a lot of medium tempo songs because it's so percussive.
It's very percussive, and it makes people want to get up and dance. And that's the good news. They didn't overdo those tunes, neither. They made them for radio, and the groove is there. The
It's
Latin
such a
thing.
great tune, man.
It's
because,
great.
Yes, it pays tribute to the fiery Latin groove, but it's funky.
Yeah, it is.
Man, that
Yeah.
song is so funky.
Yeah, it is. And there's so much diversity here with this band too, because of the singing in Spanish and English.
Yeah.
Too, and so the potential's really good.
What's the website?
It's LatinPopRevue.com.
Simple.
Yeah.
Same thing on Twitter, that kind of thing, or
We're not on Twitter, but we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook.
perfect.
Latin Pop Revue, Revue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like the French spelling. Lisa Battle, who is a longtime friend of mine, an outstanding vocalist, she just started doing websites because she has friends that are musicians, and
Right.
she's really good at it.
and she gets you guys.
Yeah, she called me on the right day, and I go, well, I need to have a website done, and she just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, it's colorful. It represents the band so well, and I'm just overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Yeah, it's visually striking, and it's got a nice contemporary movement. Mm-hmm. It's nice, man.
Yeah.
It behaves well.
I think.
Nice job, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa is just talented as could be, and vocally she's great. She's also into fashion.
I want to say this to the audience while we're sitting
Okay.
here. We just had at least a 15-minute conversation about how to get your lady as excited as possible about dancing close with you, right? And when we always encourage people on the show is go out and see live music. And I want you to understand that Derek's on your side.
Right.
He's thinking about that moment
Thank
for
you.
you.
He's trying to hook a brother
He's
up.
like, listen, I'm going to this is going to be a layup. All
Yep.
you got to do is show up.
You got to show
You
up.
got that right.
You got to show up, and you got to at least try a little bit. Just smile at it.
Yeah.
And Eric will do the rest.
That's my aim. You nailed it, because in the back of my mind, that's what I have. I really want people to be pleased.
Yeah.
I want them to walk away really happy. Couples come in, or they might meet somebody at the gig.
Hey.
You never know, right?
No.
You know what? You might meet somebody at the gig, and she might have some really nice hips.
Hips don't lie.
That's
Yeah.
right. They don't lie.
There's a lot of tunes coming down right now. It's the beginning of the band. It's really good for 2018. I have a lot of good hopes for.
Yeah.
And
Well, I talked to Kevin Frazier at the Empress, and he's very excited about it. And
great.
he's digs you guys, and I mean there are a lot of great acts that come through there. We just had Mindy Abear on the show. And she
Oh,
was at the
yeah.
Empress, and she's amazing. A lot of amazing acts coming through.
Sure.
There. So, and he's really excited about you guys.
I'm
and
happy
so are
for
we.
that. Yeah. I'm just. This is a dream come true.
All right. Well, go see him at the Empress Theater on December 23rd. That's the Latin Pop Revue. Go see him wherever you see Latin Pop Revue. And if you want to know where they're playing, check out LatinPopRevue.com and look for him on Facebook and on Instagram. Follow Derek. He's cool. And Derek, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is great.
All right. Derek Rolando, everybody.